Okay, so this video is going to be about solving right triangles. When we solve right triangles, we're actually looking for every missing measurement. We're looking for every missing angle. We're looking for every missing side. And we're going to use any means necessary in which to find it. Meaning we might use the Pythagorean theorem. We might use the fact that the three angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. We might use the fact that sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And the tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. And whichever one of these facts gets us to our answer is the one that we're going to use. So, for the first problem up here, the first thing I'm going to do is find B, angle B. What I have is I have two angles. I have 72 and 90 degrees. So I'm going to use the information that all three angles in every triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So this one's 90. So actually these two are going to add up to 90. They're complementary angles. So that tells me that 72 minus, or 90 minus 72 technically, is going to be 18 degrees. So I know this angle right here is going to be 18 degrees. So I want to find my other two angles, or my other two sides rather. So I'm going to label my triangle with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So this side is opposite, 15 is adjacent, and AB is my hypotenuse. So I get to decide, do I want to find my opposite first or my hypotenuse first? And it really doesn't matter, but I do need to assign variables to it. So I'm going to assign X here and Y here just to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to choose to find my opposite first. So which trig function deals with opposite and adjacent? Well, that's my tangent. So the tangent of 75 is equal to my opposite over my adjacent. Multiply both sides by 15. So 15 times the tangent of 72 degrees, I wrote 75, I just fixed that, of 72 degrees, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. So 15 times the tangent of 72 degrees gives me 42.6. So BC is 42.6. The other one is my adjacent and my hypotenuse. To find Y, my adjacent and my hypotenuse. What trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? That's the cosine. So the cosine of 72 is equal to the adjacent over my hypotenuse. This one's a two-step problem, and that's okay. Multiply both sides by y. So I get y times the cosine of 72 is equal to 15, divided by the cosine of 72. And 15 divided by the cosine of 72 gives me 48.5. Okay, my next problem. Again, the easiest thing for me to find is my missing angle, because three angles in any triangle add up to 180 degrees. So my two non-right angles add up to 90. They are complementary angles. So my missing angle, 90 minus 34, is going to be 56 degrees. I'm going to label my other two angles with X and Y. I'm going to label all of my sides based on my 34-degree angle with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Okay, so if I'm going to find X, well, that's my opposite and my hypotenuse, so that is my sine. So the sine of 34 is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So 42 times the sine of 34 tells me that X is equal to 23.5. To find my Y, that's going to be the adjacent over my hypotenuse, so that's the cosine of 34 is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So 42 times the cosine of 34 tells me that Y is equal to 34.8. Okay. So this next triangle doesn't give me any of the angles. It gives me 2 of the sides. So to find the third side, I'm actually going to do that first. I'm going to do the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. So they give me 2 sides, but not the third. So 7.6 squared plus b squared is equal to 8 squared. So 57.76 plus b squared is equal to 64. So b squared is equal to 6.24. And when I take the square root of that, I get 2.5. Okay, so now I get to choose. Do I want to find K or do I want to find L? And it doesn't matter which one you choose, you get to pick. Whichever angle you pick, and I'm going to choose K because I feel like it, you're going to label your sides with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So I'm going to just try to use 7.6 and 8 because that's what the problem gave me. So 7.6 is my adjacent, and 8 is my hypotenuse. So what trig function deals with adjacent and hypotenuse? Well, that's the cosine. So the cosine of theta is equal to my adjacent over my hypotenuse. So using the inverse function, so the inverse cosine of 7.6 over 8, again, make sure your calculator is in degree mode for all of these, otherwise all of our answers are going to be wrong. And I'm going to get 18.2 degrees. So there's a couple different ways I can find L. Angle L, I can subtract 18.2 from 90 degrees because, again, my 2 non-right angles are complementary. Or I can go ahead and focus on angle L and say that this side is my opposite and 8's still my hypotenuse. So the sine of angle L is equal to the opposite over my hypotenuse. Do the inverse function, so the inverse of 7.6 over 8 is equal to L. So when I put that in my calculator, I get 71.8 degrees. Okay, so remember, anytime we're solving right triangles, we're finding every missing side, either using the fact that all 3 angles add up to 180 degrees, using the Pythagorean theorem, or using one of my trig functions, and I might have to use the inverse trig functions as well. Okay? Good luck.